Hello everyone, Sabrina here from Scrappy Tales Crafts. Today I'm going to be working with our new retro Christmas in July card kit. This kit includes 2 exclusive embellishment mixes, also this adorable little exclusive word die that fits perfectly inside one of the A7 layering trees from the card kit. That one says, "We wish you a Merry Christmas." You're also going to get a retro Christmas 6 by 8.5 inch paper pad. And I love the color scheme on this. I was definitely inspired by 60s Christmas decor. You also get a layering postcard stencil, a snowy star background, and a regular snowflake background stencil. This is the large and small ornament base die, which I will be using in today's video. So I'll be making 2 small ornaments, and then I'll make 1 large ornament that I'm actually going to place inside our A7 pop-up stand die. You also get the coordinating dies for the holiday postcard and tags stamp set here. Here is all the images just digitally colored. And then you also get the A7 retro Christmas tree and the A7 tree silhouette. So I will be using the retro tree today, and I will feature the silhouette tree in another video. But I really wanted to share the tutorial on how to make these adorable little gift tags that you can add to your presents this year, and then they can also be used as tree ornaments. And honestly, even though they are paper ornaments, because you're adding so many layers, I think they're pretty sturdy and can be used on your tree. As long as they're handled with care when you're taking your tree down, I don't see why these can't be like lifelong ornaments. So anyway, I wanted to use the retro Christmas tree because there is paper piecing for it. So I die cut 5 green bases. And here I am using the small tree first, so I'm going to be creating the small ornament. And I cut all the light bulbs from various colors of glitter cardstock. So I'm going for that classic ceramic home decor piece that are really making a comeback. And on those, there's typically colorful light bulbs with a white trim. And there's several styles. A lot of them are pink, some of them have that teal 60s style to them, but I really wanted to make more of a traditional tree this time. For my large trees, I went with all gold bulbs, so I cut the light bulbs all from gold mirror cardstock. I did gold glitter stars on the small trees and this large one. And then the garland for the large tree, I will be using red glitter cardstock. So I'm going to have more of a traditional tree and then more of a whimsical one with the glitter light bulbs. I just wanted to show that you can get 2 different styles with this one die. And if you haven't seen my product showcase video yet, I encourage you guys to check that out because I share even more inspiration using the retro tree as well as the entire card kit. And off camera, I did decorate 4 of those small trees with the rainbow light bulbs off camera the exact same way. And for this large tree, I made an additional 6 off camera. And if you are not someone that likes to paper piece, that A7 tree silhouette might be more appealing to you. But you can also tuck in a few undecorated retro trees in with some of the decorated ones. As long as you offset the 2, it's still going to look really pretty because there's so many layers. But for this video, I decided to just decorate all of them. I personally love paper piecing, so I didn't mind that at all. So now I'm going to move on to the ornament base pieces. The one that looks like a fan is for the small Christmas tree ornament. And the larger one is for the larger tree, and there is some legs attached to it so that you can easily add it inside the pop-up stand, which I will show you. So right now I'm just reinforcing all the score lines, and I am going to fold this accordion style, so mountain valley, mountain valley. So I'm folding one up, flipping it over, folding it up again, flipping it over, folding it up again, flipping it over, folding it again, and then just repeat that process all the way down. You can see I'm using my bone folder to give those score lines a nice crease. That's also going to allow that point at the top to be a little more precise. Here I have some white twine that is going to be my ornament loop. The stamp set from the card kit has a bunch of cute little tags that you can add to the top of your Christmas tree ornament. So this one I chose, it says "'Tis the Season." I'm just going to tie a knot at the top of this. I threaded that sentiment through, or that tag, and the coordinating dies even cut the little hole for the tag. I'm just going to trim off the ends here. And then I'm going to take some Scotch tape and line it up inside this base piece. And then I'll just tape it down. It does not matter if you tape over the score lines. That tape is so thin that it's just going to morph into the shape that you want it to be. Then once your loop is added inside, you can go ahead and close the triangle. So I'm just adding strong double-sided tape to that last tab there, and then lining it up to the opposite end tab and attaching that together. So then you should be left with this tree shape. It honestly, I think would be cute if you added gems or pearls to it, and it in a way kind of looks like a modern Christmas tree. Here I have my 5 decorated small retro trees. I'm going to cut the trunks off because off camera I made this exact ornament with the trunk on, so I wanted to see what it would look like with the trunk and without the trunk. So this is completely optional. If you want to paper piece a brown tree stump, you can definitely do that. Alright, so now the trick to these ornaments is to score them in the center. So I'm finding the middle point on the tree, and I'm just following that up with my scoreboard. I am going pretty slow with this. You can see I'm going back and forth because I have to score through that glitter paper and through the garlands. So I don't want to potentially rip those inside pieces, so I am going pretty slow here, and then once I get to the top, I just do one slide down to make sure that's nicely scored. I did that to all 5 trees, and you can make these ornaments as fluffy as you want. So some of the samples I showed in my showcase video, I did 8 layers. Some of them I did add a solid base in between, so I didn't have to paper piece so much. But I honestly think 5 is the perfect number. You can clearly see that it's 3-dimensional. Once you have all these die cuts glued back to back, it adds quite a bit of weight to the tag / ornament. And like I said, I think if these are well taken care of, they can be permanent ornaments. And I actually have a little Christmas tree in my craft room that I plan on making just for paper ornaments. And there will be add-ons so that we can make more than just Christmas tree designs. All right, so here you can see I have strong double-sided tape, and I am just adding a strip of it to the center of each of those divots on that triangular base piece. And I'm adding the tape just in the center where those folds are. You don't have to focus on adding tape all over those triangles. You can if you want to, but as long as the center is super sticky, it should be okay. So I went ahead, added that tape. I'll go one at a time, remove the backer on each strip. Then I will take one of my Christmas trees, and you saw there that I went ahead and scored them or folded them in half. And all you have to do is line them, the crease, or I guess the fold of the Christmas tree lines up with the fold on the base piece. And all you have to do is just go all the way around following those folds in the center. Also be sure to line up the tree next to it pretty evenly. It's not going to be perfect because these are not completely 100% symmetrical, but you're going to see that they just line up really well side by side. You can also make sure that one piece isn't too tall by looking at the star and making sure that they all line up at the top. So then I'm just gonna go to the next divot, remove the backer on the double-sided tape, and then line up my next tree. And then here is the last one. I'll remove that backer tape. This one you kind of have to squeeze like a taco in the middle. But as you can see, they all line up perfectly. And I went with 5, but if you wanted to just glue half a tree on half the divot and then another tree on the other half, you can basically make 10 trees if you want to. And in my next video, I will show you how to make an 8-sided ornament. But honestly, I really like the 5. It's not as much work. I would say one ornament probably takes me about an hour to make just because of all those little light bulbs. But they are just honestly so cute. I am obsessed with them. So the die set included this smaller retro tree along with the larger one so that you can match your Christmas cards to the coordinating tags or ornaments, which I really like. So here's a close-up of the other tag I made. That one just has the tree trunk still attached to it. Here are my more traditional trees. And again, I'm just going to score them right in the middle with my scoreboard. Again, I'm going pretty slow here. This is real time. I'm really making sure that that score line is nicely pressed into that glitter cardstock and through the base. So for this design, I have 7 decorated trees, and then I have 1 plain base tree that I cut from the same green cardstock. I did not decorate it. That's going to be what I would call my sacrificial tree. I'm going to cut it in half so that I can kind of cheat and make less of these decorated ones. You can avoid that if you make a total of 9 trees, but I'll show you a way to avoid that with this little plain one that has nothing on it. So I am going to score that one in half. Then for my bottom pop-up stand, I wanted to use my slimline wood grain background, and then the base itself is going to be cut from a light shimmery brown cardstock. I am trying to recreate the look of a tree stand, one of those like country style ones that are really popular. You can see I cut 2 of those base pieces, and from this one slimline wood grain, I'll be able to decorate both of them. The pop-up stand does include some decorative panels if you want to use those instead, or you can also use the pattern paper to decorate these. I'm just adding some liquid glue to the areas that I know will cover these base pieces. And I have been using the new Gemini, and I absolutely love it because with this background die, I usually had to cut it one with the shim, and usually I had to cut it 2 or 3 times to get this perfect of a cut, just because of how large the background die is. But with the new machine, I only cut it once, and it just cuts like butter. I absolutely love that new machine. Would highly recommend it if you're looking to upgrade your die cut machine. All right, so here I'm just going to trim off the excess. And I really like how that turned out. It added some nice texture. I am going to go in and just glue those ends that might not have been completely adhered. I will also have to do that when I reinforce the score lines. So on the top you can see I cut my large ornament base. For this one you will need 2 of those. For the small ones you only need to cut it once. And I do suggest cutting those bases from heavyweight cardstock. I'm going to go ahead and reinforce the score lines here. Again, I'm doing accordion folds So every time I fold the next score line, I just flip it the other direction. So I'm going to do that to both pieces. I also would suggest to die cut your trees, the trees that you decorate, from a lighter weight cardstock, just because by the time you glue so many of these, it becomes quite heavy. All right, so just giving those score lines a nice crease. These will be glued back to back. And in my next video, I will show you how you can make these into large ornaments. You basically just glue them back to back to do that. All right, so here I have my first decorated tree, just scoring that in the middle. And you can adhere these the exact same way I did on my first tree by adding some score tape right in the middle of each divot. But on this, for some reason, I like when the tape is just on one side, so on the right side of each divot. That just makes it more fluffy and adds, I don't know, it's not quite as tight. I can't really explain it. It's up to you. You can try both looks and see what you prefer. But I, for now, am just showing you that you can just add your tape to one side of the divot, so on the right side. And if you want to add more trees, again, that is when you would glue 2 trees basically in one divot, 1 tree on each half. But for here, I'm just going to glue 2 in the middle. And then you're going to be left with those legs, which we're going to add trees to those as well. But first, I'm just going to do those inner ones again, just because those inner trees are going to help you line up those outer ones easier. Here I'm using strong 1/4 inch tape. I do prefer tape over glue just because it's an instant adhesion. If you do use glue, just make sure you're giving enough time for each tree to dry before you move on to the next one. So here I'm using my other base that I just made to make sure that the stars are about the same height. So that looks good. I'll go ahead and add in my 4th tree now. So this is basically the exact same thing we did for those ornaments. And now I just have those legs showing. So if you want, you can just go with 4 layers and glue those legs back to back. But I'm just going to make this more fluffy with more trees. So I am going to glue 1 whole tree to one of the legs. So here I'm adding my double-sided tape. And these legs are longer because you're going to use the excess to stick inside the pop-up stand. So if you want this to be an ornament, you would just trim those legs to be the same height as your trees. And here you can see I'm lining up the left side of my tree to the right side of the tree beside it, so that again it just creates a continuous circle. I'm going to do the same thing this time on my other base on the left leg. So on the first one I did it on the right leg. Just I'm being mindful that this is going to be a complete circle. And then if you wanted to, you can add 1 more tree to the remaining legs, so you would need 2 more decorated trees. But I just did not want to do that extra work, so what I have is I have 1 last tree on the top right corner, and then I had that little one that's not decorated. I'm going to cut that one in half. I'm going to glue it on the remaining legs, again lining up those halves so that they are butted right up against each other. You're going to want to make sure that your straight line that you cut is facing outside. Then I'll glue the other half to the other leg. Again, that straight edge is going to line up with the straight edge on the stand, on the base, sorry. All right, so now they're fully decorated. Here you can see what they look like when you glue them back to back for the ornament. Here I'm going to just glue down those stray ends that are popping up as I'm folding in these score lines. I'll go ahead and close up the pop-up stand. I'm going to add just some liquid glue to each of the glue tabs to attach these together. For some reason, my camera cut off when I was gluing each base together. I have several videos on how this stand is built, so I'll have that linked down below if you want to check that out. But basically, you just glue them back to back. So now I'm taking my tree base pieces. I'm adding strong double-sided tape to that remaining part of the leg that's showing. I'm going to use strong tape and glue just in case I have to wiggle this a bit. And I'm going to line it up in the center of the rectangle on the front and back of the pop-up stand. So once I have the front added, I'll just add some more double-sided tape and glue to the other tab on the back side. And again, just trying my best to line up these in the center of the rectangles on the base pieces. All right, so we got one tree added, and I know it looks a little bit crazy, but bear with me. I have my other base, add my double-sided tape and my glue to those tabs. And make sure when you add the second piece in that you are gluing that non-decorated tree to the front, to the same side as the other non-decorated tree. So you want to complete that tree when you add them inside. So now you can see that each half will meet. And I'm going to use my remaining decorated tree to cover that non-decorated one. But basically, I saved myself from having to decorate 2 extra trees by adding that non-decorated one I cut in half. So then I'll just take some more double-sided tape, cover that plain tree, and glue my decorative one on top. And that's really just going to make this look nice and clean. I do like to glue those stars at the top together just so that, I don't know, it just looks a little more finished. And that's it. That's how you add that inside. And you can use any of our previous add-ons for the pop-up stand. You can use any large symmetrical die you have, or small, because you can make the smaller version of these. So I like that this die can be used over and over again for the pop-up stand add-ons and then for future ornament insert add-ons. So here you can see I just kind of added a glob of glue up where those stars are, and I'm just going to glue them back to back. I'm just going to pinch them one at a time, go all the way around, and it just looks a little more cleaner. So here it is, fully completed, and now all it needs is a sentiment. So I used the "We Wish You a Merry Christmas" word die from the kit, but I cut off the top part of it so that I was just left with "Merry Christmas." I doubled it up with strong cardstock behind a gold layer so that it slightly pops off the background. And I'll just adhere that down, and that completes my little ornaments and my large coordinating card to match. So I love how these turned out. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. My next video is going to feature the tree silhouette, which is even easier because you don't have to paper piece anything on that tree. I will also have the card kit linked down below. I think it's a really great value, so if you love these ornaments, definitely go check that out. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!